start my summer reading this week and I'm so excited. I love summer reading so much. It's probably my favorite, maybe in a little bit of competition with fall reading, but summer is when I read a lot of my 5-star reads, and I read at a feral pace. Maybe it's because I live in kind of an area that gets really hot and I don't want to be outside as much. Summer romances hit like nothing else. I don't know what it is about them, but if it's at a beach house, a lake, really any summer setting, even like a tropical setting, I really like it. And then I also read a lot of literary fiction in the summer. So every time I look back at the end of the year, I think about my summer reading time and just how much I read. This week we're starting it officially, and I have 3 books on my TBR for hopefully the next week and a half. The first book I want to read in this vlog is 7 Days in June. Obviously a summer read, it takes place in June. Now this takes place in New York, so it's very different than the summer that I'm used to. I'm a West Coast girl and this takes place on the East Coast. I do like reading East Coast summer reads a lot, but they usually take place like in Nantucket or in the Hamptons or something like that. I have been wanting to read this for so long. I see this on so many lists when someone recommends a book to get you out of book slump, something that is very emotional, or just all-time favorite reads. I've always wanted to read it. I actually bought it last year, and it was basically the last day of June when I bought it. And I was like, actually, I'm going to hold off on this and I'm going to read it next year in June, which is completely unnecessary. You don't need to read books the month that they take place, but I love an atmospheric read, so that's just what I decided to do. It's been sitting on the shelf for a year and it's always staring at me, and I've almost caved so many times and just said, you know, I don't need to read it in June because I really don't. But I waited and now it's finally time. I can't wait to see what everyone is talking about when they say that they like this book, because I feel like people are very vague about it. I know that it's 2 people that had a thing in the past and now they're reconnecting. That's really all that I know about it. And I think it's good to go into it blind because I'm already seeing a lot of things in the story that I wasn't expecting. The next book on my list I don't have right in front of me. I'm going to be reading it on my Kindle, and it is an e-arc, and that is See You at Sunset by Susan Lee. In my last vlog, I read Susan Lee's first adult romance, which was Julia's Song is Undateable, and I'm still obsessed with it. I'm still trying to decide when I want to read it because the book in its entirety wasn't really a 5-star feel, but the characters were definitely a 5-star feel. So I'm between a 4 and a 5, but either way, if you haven't read that book, you need to, because the man in that book is just, if acts of service is your love language, that's the man for you, and you need to read it. So it's an enemies to lovers, and it takes place in Palm Springs, and the main character, I guess she gets fired. So she's like, I'm going to go to Palm Springs, visit my grandma at her retirement community, and then the lawyer that signed her termination papers is also there visiting his grandpa. I'm just really excited. It takes place in Palm Springs because Palm Springs to me is just like the epitome of summer, especially West Coast summer. I'm obsessed with mid-century modern architecture, and that's just like the mecca of that. So I feel really blessed to have this arc, and it comes out August 11th. I don't know how much of the plot I can give away, but I can tell you guys the vibes and like how I'm feeling about the characters. I also want to throw an audiobook in here, but I was about to say the audiobook I want to read, but I just read a little bit up on the author, and I kind of read some things that they were a little strange to me. So I don't think I'm going to continue with the book. I'm not going to say what it was. It's a bummer because I was really excited about it, and it was a literary fiction, I'll say that much. So I think I'm going to try to find another literary fiction or historical fiction that is set in the summer or like in an oceany kind of setting. So I'm going to try to find one within the next few hours, and then I'll come back and update you guys on what I decide on. I'm kind of leaning towards Convenience Store by the Sea, which is a translated Japanese novel, and it's kind of like a slice of life. The thing about slice of life, I like it, but then if I'm really not in the mood for it, I get bored. I have been wanting to read this book for quite a while though, and I'm like, maybe audiobook would be the way to do it. I'm gonna look on Libby and see if I find anything else first. I know I am gonna read that book eventually. It's just, slice of life is tricky for me. I'll either eat it up or it'll put me in a reading slump, and I can't do a reading slump, you guys. I can't do it. So, to be determined on the audiobook. Okay, yesterday I went to a book swap hosted by my local bookstore. They have it about every 3 to 4 months. It's always a lot of fun. Everyone just drops off their books and then on a table, and then we all grab from there. And then the bookstore will put a bunch of ARCs of books that have already been released, or just books that the booksellers from the bookstore don't want anymore from their own personal collection. I usually leave with like 20 books, and this time I was like, I'm going to limit myself and try to stick to under 10, because I have so many books from their swaps, and they can encourage you to take a lot because they have so many books to give away and people bring so many books, but I just don't have room to bring home 20 more books, so I limited myself. Most of these are books that I already wanted to purchase anyways, so I got like a couple that are kind of one-offs. So the first one is one of the ones that I had never heard of before, so I have no idea really what it's about, but it's a historical romance by Eloisa James called How to Be a Wallflower. I love historical romance, but a lot of the older ones are really good, but they can have some problematic tropes in them, or just the male main character is just a god-awful person. So I want to read some newer ones. I'm pretty sure it's either a recent release or they just redid the cover. I'm not really sure, but they had a bunch of books by this author, and this one stood out to me a lot, so I grabbed it. So I got Frederick Bachman, Us Against You. This is in the Beartown series. I have the first book in the series, and I need to get the rest of them, so I have the full set, but I've been dragging my feet buying the rest of them, so I'm glad someone dropped this off. Next one, I don't think I can pronounce this name properly, so I apologize. I should have looked it up before, but I don't have my phone on me. Ronnie Deshband Takes the Wheel. I already know that I'm saying that wrong. I am going to look it up later, I promise. I didn't realize that the characters in this are about 19 years old. I'm not sure I would have picked it up if I realized that, but I do want to read more South Asian romances, and this really caught my eye. The cover is really, really pretty. Like, I kind of do want to read this summer. It has I feel like the cover has kind of a summery vibe to it. And I keep seeing this cover. It is so pretty. Now, I feel like a lot of people don't like the cartoon romance covers, but I love them. I make bookish art, so I have kind of a bias towards it. I can't help it. This cover is gorgeous. It's the marriage narrative. I don't really know much about the plot, but I do know that the FMC she's a very successful businesswoman, and I love romances when the FMC is really high up in the corporate world and is just really successful. So I'm really excited to get to this one. I love like the purpley tones of this cover and kind of like the painterly style of the drawing. 10 out of 10 cover, honestly. Girls Trip. This one is another one I keep seeing at the bookstore and I've been wanting to grab, but I haven't. I feel like this is giving spring vibes to me. I don't know if I'll read it this summer. I do want to find some summery historical romances, but I feel like they're all, at least the Regency ones, are all kind of giving spring to me. I mean, I don't have to read summer books in the summer, but that's kind of what this vlog is about. So next one, I'm pretty sure it's Horror. The cover gives horror, and I'm obsessed with the cover. Every single time I see it, I want to get it. It's Matchmaking for Psychopaths. So this like vintage Valentine's card. I don't think it's, okay, there it is. I love these. So whenever I see this cover, I'm just staring at it and I want to get it, but I don't really know what it's about, but I'm definitely going to read this in October. And last one, I've already read this, and I usually don't like when books have the film adaptation characters on them, but I saw this copy of Heartstopper and it does have the actors in it from the adaptation, but they made it look like a comic book kind of. I don't know if you can see, there's an outline around them and little doodles, and I thought this was a really cute way to do a book adaptation cover to kind of stylize it. The back is really cute too. Those are the books I got from the swap. I'm really happy with my selections. Usually I just grab a bunch of books and I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to get to these, but I want them. These ones are all books that I feel like I could see myself reading in the next 6 months or so. If your local bookstore has any events like that, not just book swaps, but author events, meetups, anything, I highly recommend going. I've made so many friends at them and it just helps the bookstore a lot. Okay, and then I'm almost at the halfway point in 7 Days in June. I'm loving this book. Right now, Eva is kind of dealing with some stuff with her daughter. She goes to a really prestigious private school in New York, and her daughter is I love her daughter, but the things that I love about her are kind of the things that are getting her in trouble right now. She is running her own little therapy sessions at school, which is obviously not okay because she's not a therapist. And she started putting them up on Snapchat, which is also not okay because some of the students were talking about things going on with their parents. And you just know how teens on the internet are, of course. They went viral, which I'm saying that I love her daughter. I don't love that this happened, okay? She just got suspended because the school found out about it. And Eva's going through her head. She's like, okay, I know this student got in trouble for this, and their parents got them out of it because they do the principal's booktok or something like that. Basically, the principal's like, we need an English teacher. I know that you're a writer, so if you can find an English teacher that can kind of help bury this scandal because everyone will be all excited about the English teacher instead, then I'll let your daughter off the hook and she can re-enroll next year. The only English teacher that she knows is Shane, who is the MMC in the book, and they have a past. They're showing little snippets of it, but we don't really know exactly what went wrong with them. They grew up together. They were the only people growing up that really understood each other, and they both have kind of a troubled past, but now they're back in each other's lives. So I'm going to take a little break from reading because Love Island's about to come on. Casa just ended last episode. It's getting really, really juicy. So that's a big priority for me right now. Okay, so it's about 2 days later. I didn't really get a lot of reading done yesterday, so I didn't check in. I had cramps and I just wanted to lay in bed and watch Love Island and start a new K-drama. I started Perfect Crown, I think it's called. I started it because I've been wanting to watch Lovely Runner, but it's on Viki and I canceled my Viki subscription. It has the same actor as in Lovely Runner. But I did want to talk a little bit about the audiobook that I ended up choosing. I just realized that I never said anything about it in the video. So I ended up going with Kakagori Summer. I had never heard of this book before, but I saw that one year it was voted NPR's favorite book of the year or something like that. It's about 3 sisters. They all live very different lives. They're half British and half Japanese, and one of the sisters is a J-pop idol. Another is really, really high up in the finance industry. And then another one is a stay-at-home mom. I can't remember what her job is, but it's not a very glamorous job. So they live very different lives, and I don't think that they live close to each other. A big dating scandal happens with the sister that is a pop star. The sisters decide that they're going to spend a summer together in their hometown and just escape from the world. So I haven't gotten that far into it. Honestly, when I'm listening to it, the narrator, it shows from all 3 of their POVs, and the narrator doesn't really switch up their voice at all. In the beginning, I was kind of having trouble trying to remember whose POV I was in. I think that when I'm in the sister's POV, that's an idol, that's the easiest to recognize because her life is just crazy. I wanted my audiobook listen to be something that was a little bit more on the literary fiction side, so I think this was a good choice. Okay, and then I didn't get that much further in 7 Days in June, but something that just happened that I'm just, okay. So, like I said before, Eva is about to ask, I think his name is Shane, I already forget. She's about to ask him, will you please be the teacher at my daughter's school? Or she actually did already ask him, and immediately he said yes, no questions asked, which was kind of crazy, but he agrees to it. And then they spend a day together. They go to this weird art installation where a bunch of people nap in a room together, and they're around the city together, and they get spotted together sitting on a bench. And I guess the mailman character, he's such a famous author that he ends up in the tabloids. I can't really think of any other authors like that besides J.K. Rowling, but she ends up in the tabloids because she's an evil person, so it's a little bit different. But they end up in a tabloid situation or something like that. Pictures of them get posted online. Then Eva's daughter is at school, and one of her classmates comes up to her and he says, your mom is dating so-and-so, and she's like, I know who that author is, but what are you talking about? Then she sees them together and she has all these questions. Like, why is my mom with this man? Blah, blah, blah. My question is, the reason that she got into this situation, the daughter, is because she posted Snapchat videos of her doing therapy sessions with one of her classmates whose mother ended up dating a teacher. Now Eva is asking him to be a teacher at her daughter's school. And I don't think that she plans on getting back together with him or having a romantic relationship with him, but it's going to happen in these 7 days, I'm guessing. How is that gonna solve her daughter's problem? I don't understand the thought process. I'm just wondering how this is gonna work. I'm not saying it like as a place of judgment. I get that she's trying to keep her daughter in this school and you'll do whatever you can for your child. I just am wondering, there's one problem that happened and she's kind of solving it with a similar problem. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But they do seem, it's very obvious that they care about each other and that they have this really intense history together. And I'm really curious to see how that all unfolds. The story is told in 2 different timelines. They go back into their past and we're seeing how their relationship formed. Now that they're getting older and we're going to see what happened to them that caused them to split apart, it's becoming a lot more interesting. Today's the last day of June, so I hope I can finish it today, but I don't know. I think I have like 120-ish pages left, which is a lot to read in one day. So I did a little Barnes trip and I went in kind of blind. I've seen a lot of people on TikTok talk about how they miss just going to the bookstore. If you were, I don't want to say live, but you know, if you were a book shopper in the Borders days, then you know that we kind of had to go in blind all the time. But the books that I got, so this first one, it was actually on an end cap or on one of those tables. And I guess now that I'm looking it up, it is kind of popular on TikTok, but I hadn't heard of it. It is Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth. And it takes place in the summer in Ireland in the 90s. And it just made me think of Dairy Girls when I heard that. I wanted to get all summer themed books to kind of go along with the theme of this vlog and just to build up my summer TBR. I think that I'm kind of running low on summer books since I usually read so many of them. So it takes place in the 90s and I think it's about a girl that is coming to terms with her sexuality and she has a crush on her best friend. That's really all that I know about it. But I know now that I'm looking at it on TikTok, a lot of people really love this and they say it's very, very devastating. So I think I'm going to try to read this in July. And the next one, so I was looking for, I haven't listened to much of my audiobook, but I am liking it so far. So I was just looking around to see if there were any other books by the same author. They didn't have any other books by her there, but in the same kind of area of the alphabet. I found this book, Breasts and Eggs by Maiko Kawakami. This is about 3 women in Japan. So it's another Japanese author. And the back of the book, the first sentence, it just starts with "on a sweltering summer day." And then another couple paragraphs down, it says, "on yet another blistering summer day 8 years later." So it looks like it's a dual timeline and both timelines take place in the summer. I don't think it's a typical fun summery read, but it does take place in the summer. So I grabbed this. It's about 3 women, 2 sisters, and a daughter of one of the sisters. And I guess the daughter has gone mute recently. There's something, I think it has something to do, so her mother, I guess, is very, very obsessed with her appearance and she wants to get all these surgeries. I believe she wants to get a breast augmentation. And it sounds like the daughter is kind of noticing these things and it's making her either uncomfortable or unhappy. There is the other sister and she's just, I'm not really sure what's going on with her, but she's going through her own troubles and it's just the 3 of them interacting together, it seems like. It doesn't seem very plot heavy. Sometimes it does take me a while to get through books that aren't plot heavy, so I feel like I'm going to like this, but it probably will take me longer to read. I'm not sure. I kind of want to read this in July as well, but we'll see. And I did have to get one romance. I'm a fiend for summer romances. And this one is called Nearly Wed, and it's about 2 men. I think that they're already in a relationship, and it's kind of about them rekindling. I could be wrong. It says that they're joining each other for an early honeymoon, so they must still be together. I don't know. But anyways, one of them is a millennial, one is Gen X. I don't consider those to be older, but they're older than typical romances that I read. It was on like a Pride Month end cap, and it was all summer themed Pride Month books. So I'm excited about this. I haven't really seen a lot about it. I think I looked it up after I bought it. I looked up on TikTok and there was like a couple videos. So those are the 3 books that I got to add to my summer reading collection. I have some other summer romances that I definitely want to get to this summer. I'll probably make a separate video with my summer TBR, but I wanted to add a few. And I definitely wanted to add a couple literary fiction books. Alright, I'm about to read the last couple chapters and I'm a little bit scared. So the end of this book, it did not go the way that I hoped it would go, but it went the way that I knew it would go without any spoilers. The way that it went in a direction that I was expecting it to go. But the epilogue, sometimes I have to force myself through epilogues. I'm really glad that I read this one because the story definitely was not over by the end of the book. And the epilogue really, I don't want to say redeemed because I like the book a lot. So I don't, like, redeemed seems like I didn't like it, but it made it a better ending, a more satisfying ending. Not that the ending was bad. It was just, it was so realistic that it was sad. So first summer read of this vlog is done. Okay, I'm ready to start my next book. It's kind of late, but I got a mini Alani and it's a 3-day weekend, 4th of July weekend. So there's going to be tons of fireworks going off all night anyways, and I'm not going to get any sleep. So I'm going to drink this and then we're going to start See You at Sunset by Susan Lee. So since it's an e-arc, there aren't page numbers. So I was going to give myself a goal to finish at least like 70 pages tonight, but I can't really do that because there's no page numbers. So I want to say I want to read an hour. Let's do 45 minutes. I got my 45 minutes in. I feel like I could read more. I'm going to take a little bit of a break and then probably get back to reading this. There's not really much I can say other than what was in the synopsis. I will say our main character, she's been let go. I've never been fired, but I've been through a somewhat similar situation. Not fired, but just job uncertainty. So it's a little bit triggering for me. When I was reading this, like, a bunch of memories were coming back to me. I don't know how to say it without saying it, but not so triggering that I don't think that I can read it. It's not like I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too much, I need to stop. But I did have a couple of memories flood back, and she is in a really uncertain time in her life. I think most people can relate to that in some way. I will say she's living in New York, and living in New York with financial instability, that has to be absolutely terrifying. Her parents are offering for her to go back home and work for them, and she knows if she goes back to live with her parents, she's going to be kind of stuck and bound to their rules, and she's a grown woman, so she's like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go see my grandma. I don't know how much I can say other than that. And I mean, I haven't really gotten that far anyway, so that's really all that's happened, but I'm saying, like, for the rest of the vlog, I'll have to be a little bit vague. I feel like I read an arc in not every vlog that I've done, but in a lot of them, and I'm always in this predicament where I'm like, I want to say a lot, but I'm just gonna have to tell you guys the vibes. I say that every single time I read an arc. It's coming out in August though, so coming out soon-ish. I am really happy that it seems like it's a quick paced read because it's exactly what I need right now. It's the next morning, I'm getting some reading in, and Gia, the main character, just mentioned that she's at the pool, I think, and one of her grandma's friends is reading the latest Kennedy Ryan book, and I love that detail. Okay, I feel so bad for Henry's grandpa right now. You can tell he just wants to hang out with his grandson and just catch up, and Henry's all business. Do all this legal paperwork, financial stuff, which is very important, and it's the whole reason he's there. But I'm like, you can at least spend an afternoon with him first before you're worried about all this. I feel like his grandpa's so lonely. I know that he has good intentions, all the things that he's doing, but he's not really listening to his grandpa. Okay, so I'm devouring this. It says I have about 2 hours left, and I started it last night. I'm not a fast reader at all. So for me, that's a testament to how good the book is. I'm really, really enjoying the side characters. I said earlier, they're at a retirement community, and seeing all of their grandparents' friends really makes the story. I'm kind of enjoying that even more than the romance, because there hasn't really been that much of a romance yet, which is another thing I really like. I prefer slow burn. If the characters get together too early, it just it starts to get boring for me. And I really like the anticipation of seeing how they're going to get together, because at this point I don't see it. I feel like there's a curiosity between the two of them, but I don't see any romantic connection right now other than something that happened in the prologue. But there is a character in this that I can't say much, but he isn't really who he seems. It's turning out, and that's adding another element to it that I really like. And it's so much more than a romance. It's really about community, also things that elderly people go through that are really unfair. And yeah, I really, really like this. I think I've read so much of it because I put my phone in the other room. That's another thing, other than the book being so good. But it's making me even more excited to get my brick device in a few days. I think it's going to be here in like 2 more days, because it just makes me excited for all the reading I'm going to get to do this summer, now that I won't have my phone as a distraction. Not that I'll never have my phone. Obviously, I'm still going to use social media and stuff, but not as much. I listened to a little bit more of my audiobook this morning. I'm still not doing great with listening to it, but I'm going to probably listen to it when I'm cooking later. And right now, the sisters have finally agreed, like, we need to get together. So I feel like the story's really going to start getting going, and then I'll be a little more interested in it. Not that I'm not interested in it, it's just, it hasn't been at the forefront of my mind really at all. I'm trying so hard to read right now, but these fireworks are driving me insane. They're shaking my whole house. Got through a really good chunk of my audiobook. The sisters are finally all together, and their original plan was to stay in Tokyo, and it's just become apparent really quickly that they can't do that because of the sister. I think her name is Ida. Because of how big of the scandal is, if they're in Tokyo, people are going to recognize her, and she's not really going to be able to process everything and get away. So I think that they're going to go to their hometown. They did mention that, so the sisters are also British, and one of them I think lives there. She doesn't live in Japan. And she mentioned how where she lives, they don't even know who she is, because people in her country, they don't pay attention to J-pop at all. So I'm like, I feel like it would be smarter to go there, but the whole point of the book is that they're going back to their childhood home. Now they're headed back there, and one of the sisters' POV, sometimes it's hard for me to figure out whose POV we're in. I think I talked about earlier that the narrator, she doesn't really switch up the voices at all for the sisters. It's not just the way that they sound, it's that they talk, like, people have personality to their voices, and the narrator's just doing them all exactly the same. So it takes me a minute to remember whose POV we're in one of the sisters' POV, and she was talking about how, like, going back home was making her think of her mother. And I think that's going to be a really big theme of the book, is that the girls are kind of like orphans, but the plot is definitely moving along a lot more now that they are going to be in their hometown. Alright, so we've reached the end of this vlog, and I have finally finished my audiobook. I had my first full day with the brick, and I just listened to my audiobook all day and got the last 5 to 6 hours done. So I guess I just needed all my distractions taken away from me. I'm not really sure on my thoughts on the books. I think that I should have physically read it instead of listening to the audiobook. I think it really is just coming down to the narrator wasn't really for me. The thing that I enjoyed most about the book is the sisters are bilingual, and they'll mention a lot of times if they're going through some type of emotion, they'll say, I express myself, or I think in this language for this emotion, because they have this saying in this language, or they'll say I don't use this language when talking about this emotion because they don't have a term for that. And I just found that was really, really interesting. And that's something I never really thought about with different languages. I only know English and maybe a few phrases from a few other languages, but I'm not bilingual at all. And it made me really curious to learn if other multi-language speakers kind of go through the same thing. So I thought the book was interesting. I thought it was good. It's just the audiobook wasn't really for me is what it came down to. Now, my physical books that I read, I loved both of those. I finished See You at Sunset also the same day that I finished my audiobook. Really, The Brick has changed my life, you guys. I'm going to do a reading vlog next where I do a week with The Brick and just see how much reading I can get done. But I finished that. I absolutely love this book. Like I said before, the biggest thing in the book for me was the community and the found family. And Henry at the beginning of the book, he did bother me a little bit with how type A he was. He really wasn't listening to people's emotions because he's just all business. I don't really love that in a man usually, but when you see that that's really how he shows that he cares about people, he just expresses himself in a different way. Just see all the things that he does for people that he cares about. It made him a very, very great character. By the end of the book, I was obsessed with him. Gia is such a fun FMC. I loved hearing about all the outfits that she would wear and just her quirky kind of personality. She's very type B, and I feel like I relate to her much more than Henry because of that. I can be a little chaotic. Can't wait for it to come out so everyone else can read it. I highly, highly recommend it as a part of your summer reads. 7 Days in June. Beautiful, beautiful story. So sad. I feel like I didn't cry at the end of it like a lot of people did because I could see where it was going. But really the epilogue, like I said before, that was the emotional hitter for me. Just seeing how they worked things out in the end. They went through so much in the past, had also grown so much as people by the time they reconnected. I just really, really wanted them to work it out. So that's the end of this vlog. It is not the end of my summer reading, of course. This is just the beginning. So I'll be posting more vlogs of what I get up to this summer. I'm hoping to do a summer TBR, but we'll see. So excited to start summer reading.